Hello Ride On people. So my Ducati Multistrada V4S is now about 1 year old and it's just had its 9,000 mile service. The service costs $735. Sounded a lot on face value to me, but you know, hey, everything costs lots of money these days, doesn't it? Or seemingly so. And service intervals are only every 9,000 miles and 36k for the valve check. So, you know, that is what it is, but I guess it's fair, basically. And in terms of the bike has been trouble-free. I've really generally had zero problems with the bike as such, or zero that I'm particularly bothered about or concerned about. I do think Ducati dropped the ball partnering with Cygic for the multimedia side of things, and the Ducati Connect app and the Cygic app are just not up to snuff, and I think Ducati realised that, but they're keeping very quiet, tight-lipped about what the future might be for that. I suspect they'll eventually junk it and move to Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, or they're going to have to have a major sit down with Cygic and sort that mess out, basically. I think most people I know that own the bike have moved to a Garmin Zumo XT if they like maps, or if they're not really that bothered about a map, they just want navigation, a beeline device. So that's one thing. The only other thing that has annoyed is a surging issue. Now for me specifically, it's not really that much of a problem. It happens maybe once every 500 miles and it will last for 1 or 2 minutes, and then it kind of clears its throat and it's gone. However, I do know 4 other owners who are good friends of mine that have also had surging problems with their bikes, and 2 of them also stalling problems as well. Now, just to balance that, I know 2 other high mileage riders. One did 30,000 miles and the other has just had his 18,000 mile service, and those 2 bikes seem totally unaffected. However, you know, 4 people I know closely that ride with regularly all have this intermittent surging issue. And as I say, a couple of them actually have stalling issues as well. So I put my bike in, you know, 2 or 3 weeks in advance of the service, and I mentioned this to the service advisor, saying, you know, you might want to touch base with Ducati North America, see whether this has been a reported problem. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos on it. There's been a couple of problems for stalling with people like Rimbo, and a couple of people have had kind of surging issues, and they claim that it's an evapsis problem, and bypassing the purge valve will kind of solve it. So I was a bit disappointed when after the dealership had my bike for 3 days, the regional Ducati North America technical rep, all he could say was, I'll make sure the bike has the latest software and that the chain tension is checked, which was frankly a little insulting, really. I think my dealership, to be fair to them, they know I'm not making this up. I've owned kind of 35 bikes, ridden about 350 different models, and I know the difference between, say, a slack chain or dirty fuel, or a dip in the fuel map for emissions, or, you know, an unsteady throttle hand. But with my particular bike, typically, usually after about a 100-mile ride and a lunchtime stop, soon afterwards, whether it's a build-up of gases or something unrelated, I'll go to ride off, and at lowish speeds, call it maybe 4th gear at 4,500 revs, maybe kind of 45-50 miles an hour, it'll start surging. And surging, what I mean by surging is on a steady throttle, and I can have the active cruise on, so I'm not even using my hand, the bike will suddenly, it's like you've just opened the throttle slightly, and the bike will surge forwards like, you know, 4 or 5 miles an hour, and then it's like the fuel is kind of almost cut again, and there'll be quite a kind of pulling back, and it'll keep surging forwards and pulling back, surging forwards and pulling back. It's kind of akin to like holding back a racehorse, if you like. You know, the racehorse is getting to the final furlong and it's just about to make that final sprint, and it wants to go and it's pulling, and the rider's having to hold it back, and it keeps moving faster forwards and then being pulled back, faster forward, pulled back, and it does very quickly, you know. For me, an experienced rider, it's not remotely dangerous. I can certainly handle that as an issue. And sometimes if I kind of switch to sport mode and give it like 10,000 revs or something, it will immediately clear, although I don't think that's necessarily related. I think it's just, you know, circumstance. So I'm very disappointed in Ducati North America because for customers of the same dealership are all experiencing this issue. I know one customer is so fed up he's thinking about selling it and buying something else, and that's a shame. That's a shame for him because he loves the bike otherwise. It's a shame for the dealership because they're going to lose probably his repeat business because he's not going to buy another one, right? And then they're going to lose his service business as well. So I'm only kind of mildly disappointed by my dealership that they didn't push the technical rep that little bit harder and say, come on, this is a genuine problem. It's not some guy that doesn't know his onions, right? But I'm mainly disappointed with Ducati North America's attitude because I even sent a YouTube video of somebody that's having this issue. All they could say is, you know, have you got it caught on video? Can we see it? And of course, you know, the dealership wanted to replicate it and they rode the bike for, I don't know, 30, 50 miles or something. But as I said to them, it's very unlikely you'll be able to replicate it because on my bike at least, it only happens every 500 miles or so. And, you know, I don't happen to have caught it on GoPro yet. But even if you do, so what? All that confirms is that it's surging, and having ridden bikes for 45 years, I know what surging is. It's not my imagination, and it's not my friends' imaginations. They're all very experienced riders as well. One of them has the surging problem pretty much every single time he rides the bike, and the other one has had stalling problems to the point that it's kind of literally left him stranded by the side of the road for a little while until he can turn the bike on and off again 2 or 3 times, and it seems to sort itself out. So what could be causing that? Well, there's a number of things really. It could be a throttle position sensor, it could be an oxygen sensor, it could be the balance of the throttle bodies themselves, it could be a build-up of gases in the evap system. I mean, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not an engineer, I don't know any of that stuff, but even I know that stuff, right? So I expect the technical lead for the region for Ducati not to say, oh, check the tyre, check the chains, check he's on the latest software update. I mean, it's insulting in the extreme. And they need to do better. They needed to do better about side check and put their hands up and say, we got this wrong. We got so many things right with this bike. 99% of it is pretty much class leading. But we got side check wrong, and now they need to really say, okay, well, if there's more than one person's having this problem, we need to treat it seriously. And just because we can't replicate it like that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I appreciate, having worked in software most of my life, that if you can't replicate something, you cannot easily fix it. But this isn't a one-off. This isn't one customer that's experienced it once and it's like, oh yeah, don't know why I ever did that, but it's gone away. This is 4 customers that I'm aware of that are having this problem, and they're having it regularly. It's not enough for me to think about selling the bike. It's not a deal breaker for me personally. But I'd be interested to know if you are a Multistrada V4 owner, whether you're having similar problems or not. I used to have a Diavel that used to cut out traffic lights sometimes. I don't know whether it was like a kickstand thing whereby you brake hard and the side stand would go down and it would, you know, it would cut out the engine. And my Street Fighter V4S, that had some surging issues as well. I didn't own that bike for you know, for years, and initially I put it down to some dirty fuel. But after a while I thought, no, this isn't dirty fuel, this is some surging as well. And I always fill up a BP and Shell gas stations, so I try and ignore you know, the cheaper ones, and I always put premium fuel in the bike as directed by Ducati. So very unlikely to have bad fuel. But this isn't like a bad fuel, you know, block jets, fuel starvation type thing. This is proper surging, and it's not an emissions thing. It must be related to something fairly generic, and my gut feeling is it's probably evap related, because it's usually after you've been riding it a while on a hot day usually, and it's probably a build up of gases, and the purge valve is probably just not purging that sufficiently. If you bypass it, it will apparently drip a little bit of gasoline on the floor once in a blue moon, and I guess technically yeah, that's not good for emissions, and it may invalidate your warranty. But for some owners who are experiencing it worse than me, that might be worth trying. Your dealer probably won't be comfortable doing that, but they can always put down on the paperwork for testing purposes or something like that, so that you can at least test it out to see whether it works after you've tested it. So if you're having a similar sort of problem, please reach out to your dealership. I spoke with the North America customer service manager. In fact, he rang me just for a general, hi Richard, how's it going? What do you think of the bike? And it was something I mentioned to him, and he was very adamant that your dealership should investigate it under warranty. So please spell that out to them. Don't go in there and say, can you look at this? Say, I want this investigated under warranty, and get them to try and figure out a root cause for problem for your bike if you are receiving persistent surging. Some people claim the evap bypass fixes not only the surging, but also the stalling problems experienced by one or two owners. Anyway, I don't want this to be a total whinge about surging with my bike. It's a minor problem for me. If I could have it easily fixed, obviously I would, but it doesn't detract from the fact that 99% of the bike is just unbelievable. And now I have a Zumo Garmin XT and a Beeline fitted. I'm a very happy boy, and I have no plans to sell the bike anytime soon. And if you're thinking of buying one, don't be put off by this video. Absolutely go out and buy one. It's a fabulous, fabulous machine. All right, that's it for now. Speak to you soon.
Hey you, if you want to become one of the Ride On people, don't forget to subscribe. Ride often, ride carefully, ride on.